All right, Susan Bratton, welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast. You are live.
Carrie Jack, I'm very happy to be here with you today because we're going to talk about hot sex, which I'm so happy that you want to talk about. When you got engaged, I was like, dude, let's talk about how to have hot monogamy. Let's talk about how to create a sex life that gets on what I like to call the upward pleasure spiral forever, instead of course, the opposite, which is swirling down the drain, which is what mostly happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Now is for sure a great time to talk about sex, especially given the landscape of the world and the pandemic and how that shifted sex and, relationships. So I want to get into all of that. And I want to talk about how you've impacted millions of people all over the world with your sexual intimacy advisor series and books and products. You are an expert. I look to you. I've seen you speak live, and I just was mind blown. So I knew I wanted to share your love, your light with the Happy Hustlers. Now, before we go any further, I want to ask you, what is something that not too many people know about you?
I think that people have no idea how many people share their deepest sexual questions, worries, fears, desires with me, because every single day in my inbox, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5. The weekends are busy, where people are like, Seuss, I see how many people you help and how you're always writing answers to people's solutions, but I've got a problem that I don't think is solvable. But I'm going to ask if you can help me figure it out. And they write this long thing, and I'm like, that's totally solvable. Here's what you do. And they're like, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
You can't see the forest for the trees in your own sex life. But when you send it to me, I'm like, I got a plan for that. I'm the Elizabeth Warren of sex techniques,
Yeah, for sure. What are some of those key mistakes that you see relationships reach out to you for and looking for advice? Is there some like big three that you get often?
Yeah. Number one is mismatched libido. And it's, my wife or my husband never wants to have sex with me. What do I do? That's like number one above all. Number two is parts aren't working. My this hurts, my that hurts. How do I fix it? Because my area of expertise is really 3 things. Number one, sex techniques. I like to say what I do is I transform having sex into making love. And that starts with a good foundation of actual frickin' skills. Like, I was talking to a young woman recently, and she said, I don't know, maybe I need to go to a sex therapist because when my boyfriend goes down on me, I can't really have an orgasm. And I said, you're not doing anything wrong, girl. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He just needs to get more skills. It literally, if you don't like oral sex or you can't come from penetration or whatever, it's that you just need to learn more skills. And the second thing is not just skills, but there's like 2 sides of the same coin. It's actually a 3-sided coin, because the second side is bedroom communication skills, talking to each other. And the third is sexual health, regenerative treatments, how to keep your genitals as strong and working as the rest of you, because a lot of people have a lot of damage and trauma that happens to their genitals. It's not just erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation or painful sex or lack of lubrication. There's things like damage from rough sex or Peyronie's disease, which is also often damage from rough sex. People are a little overly cavalier with the delicacy of their genitals. And so sexual health, not just the aging, but the traumas that happen to our body. I'm an expert in that, because no matter, you can have all the techniques and the communication skills in the world, but if the parts are broken, it doesn't work. So those are kind of the 3 things. So number 1 is mismatched libido. Number 2 is something happened and we don't have sex anymore and we're trying to figure it out. What do we do? And then what would be the third one? The third thing that people ask me the most about? Oh, I would say generally it's about how to have orgasms. So it's often that a person feels like they know they could be having more, than they're having, but they don't know what it is that's holding them back from that pleasure. Often they think they're broken or it's them or something like that. So how do I fix that? Can I really do this? Is it really possible for everybody to do this? Are you sure? And I'm like, it's absolutely possible for everybody to have 15 kinds of orgasms. And let me show you where you can go in my programs and my books to learn the different kinds of orgasm techniques.
Yeah, wow, such great information. And I know personally for me, just reading your books and then watching you speak on stage, one of the key things that has made such a big impact in my personal relationship and my intimacy is just bedroom communication. And I think you nailed it with that. It's like making sure that you are properly articulating your thoughts, your feelings, your desires with your partner. I think that's quite often overlooked. And you do a great job in how to ask the questions, how to make it not awkward. Like people, they make sex awkward and the intimacy, revolving it a little bit awkward. So I think you do a great job, breaking down those barriers and making it normal to just communicate. It is a normal thing. So that is one of the big takeaways from at least reading your books. Now, I want to ask you, how'd you get into all of this, sexual expertise? And I know you've been happily married with Tim for years. Talk to me a little bit about what got you into this world.
Yeah, it's funny. Last night, so my husband, everybody calls him Sir Tim because for some reason, a lot of my best friends married Tims. And our team calls him Sir Tim as a sign of respect. And so everybody calls him Sir Tim. And I love that because he is a prince. And last night I asked him after dinner, could we lie down and could you just massage my internal vagina for me? I especially want you to get your fingers way up in the back, down in the bottom, almost like you're trying to feel for a tailbone back there, like below my cervix in the back.
That's deep.
Deep. I want you to go really deep, and I want you to really massage all the tissue, all the way around, 360 degrees, every single part inside me, the G area, the bottom, the sides, the back, the cervix, and kind of rub it where you're not necessarily just rubbing the skin, but I want you to go deeper. Like, if you rub the skin of an arm, you're rubbing the skin. But when you do a massage, you're rubbing the tissue below the skin. And what I wanted from him was to kind of deeply massage the inside of my vaginal canal. He's like, yeah, right. That's what he's always Mr. Yes, which is great. Anything I can come up with, he's like, happy to do it, baby, whatever you want. And he, of course, started with a belly massage, and he worked on the outside, the mons and the outer labia with warm coconut oil before he entered in, and he made sure I was ready and all of those things. But he basically sat up against the back of the headboard with pillows, and I kind of butterflied my legs over him, facing him so he could get right in there and really get that massage going.
Quite the mental up here now. Thank you for that.
Comfort is so important. All legs propped, everybody completely relaxed, And then we talked and connected, and I was like deeper down pressed there, and oh God, that feels really good. And at one point I got out a little vibrator that I love. And he was stroking my G-spot while I had the vibrator on the top of my clitoral area, and I had a fabulous orgasm. And then he tucked me in. He always pulls the blanket over my shoulders at night. I love to be tucked in by my husband, and I drifted off to sleep. And you think about that as an example of how did I get here?
Okay, I'm ready.
That, believe it or not, that was the beginning of the answer to your question, which is, I'm so comfortable with Sir Tim after being married to him I've been with him almost 30 years now. And we almost got divorced about 10 years into our marriage because our sex life fell apart. We started doing workshops and therapy and really just working to save our marriage because our issue was a lack of desire on my part because
Mm.
we basically had no skills and I got bored. So now I'm at the point, 20 years later from that, almost losing my marriage, where I have such a good sex life with my husband that I can ask to completely receive, offer nothing in return that for him, and go to bed and have him tuck me in, because I know that if he wants something, he'll ask me. And whenever he wants to make love, he knows how to take me into, even if I'm stretched out or whatever, like not in the mood or whatever. I'm never not in the mood. I'm just not in the mood yet. And I think that's a very, because I want to talk about hot monogamy with you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you create the conditions in a marriage relationship where no matter what, your sex life is always good and getting better instead of getting worse? How do you get on the upward
pleasure spiral?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And last night, what I wanted for some reason was that deep massage. And I've literally never asked him to do that before. I literally never said, can you do that particular thing to me? But I just have learned now how to listen to and honor what my body is craving and to unashamedly ask for it. And we have a relationship that is such that there's no quid pro quo. Oh, well, if I ask him to do that, he's going to ask me to do this. He may. And I could say, God, I'm so tired now, babe. I just want to go to sleep after. Can I do you tomorrow? Rain check. And I'll be like, of course. There's no frustration or anger that he's not getting enough or I'm not getting enough. A lot of the frustration in a relationship comes from lack, scarcity mindset rather than abundance mindset. And a lot of the frustration that comes in monogamy is where he's ready to go and he doesn't really have the skills to take her from wherever she is to turned on. And that's one of my programs that I created about 10 years ago, really, was a program that's helped thousands and thousands of men rekindle the sex life in their relationship, because he's always asking her for sex instead of offering pleasure. And he's always focused on intercourse instead of on full body pleasuring touch, breast massage, yoni massage, sensual massage, connection, joy, entertainment, fun, play, learning new things together. And so one of the things that men struggle with generally is that because they're testosterone dominant, they're focused, they're goal oriented, they're like always playing the end game, and they're very focused, which is great because they don't get distracted and they have confidence and they can achieve goals. But their female bodied partners are estrogen dominant. And so their minds are in a million directions. They have a hard time settling. They're not instantly ready for intercourse. They need to be warmed up. So one of the main things that I teach guys in Revive or Drive, and that's at reviveherdrive.com. And there's free books there that teach you some of these basic tenets. The first thing I do is I remind guys that they can't forget to romance her. She needs romance, she's not ready for sex. Number two, when you make her an offer for sex, it's too big an offer. You need to scale your offers back and start with pleasure and fun. That's why she married you, but you forgot. And now you're just a cranky, horny bastard who's feeling rejected all the time. And so you have to stop feeling this, male pattern victimhood of she's rejecting me. She's just, well, actually, remember that she used to like to have sex with you, which is why you married her. So you forgot all the stuff you used to do. So, I got to do all that work. It's not work. It's fun. Stop being such a poop. Be fun to be with. Be fun to have sex with,
Yeah.
And do the romantic things. Be sensual, not just sexual. If you touch your woman, if every time you touch your woman, you're trying to get sex, She's not going to want you to touch her anymore. If you come near her to touch her and she moves away, you have a lot of repair work to do to get her to have her body trust that you aren't just trying to force your way in too fast to her yoni, so it's hard for guys because they're like, oh, wow, I can't believe that I've basically just been blowing up my sex life my whole marriage because I didn't know that I was starting too big, that I was rushing too fast, that I was always going after her only for like, and as soon as they hear these kinds of things, they're like, oh, okay. If I just stop all that behavior and start being more romantic and fun and just touching her body for pleasure, she's going to want sex again. And then they do it, and they're like, it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is great advice. I mean, it really makes sense how you break it down from men who are testosterone driven to women who are, estrogen driven, and making sure that chemically you value those aspects which are at play. First and foremost, all my guys out there, the happy hustlers listening, we got to get back to the romance, and really whining and dining and doing the sensual massages and treating them as the beautiful queens they are, and making sure that you're not forcing it, that you're not just looking for sex, but you're looking to give pleasure. That is a great distinction. I love that. So amazing point there. What are, go ahead.
I don't think whining and dining leads to sex, so it's not what I recommend.
Okay, good. Change it then.
One year I did an exhaustive review of romance. What is romance? And I realized that there are basically 5 types of romance, and only a couple of them really lead to sex. And so I said to guys, pick what you do so that you achieve the result that you want. If you give a woman a framed photo of the two of you, or, take a picture of the two of you and text it to her later, that's very romantic for her, but it's not going to lead to sex. If you hold her hand and take her on a hike, on a rowboat, on horseback ride, ATVs, skiing, water skiing, move her body. If you move her body, you move her emotions, it's romantic and it increases her desire for you. So that's a really big distinction between, if you take her out to eat, she's going to get tired and want to go to bed. If you have a quick taco, have some tacos and a beer and then take a walk, she'll come home and make love with you.
Okay, that's really interesting. And it makes sense, having those externally focused activities to move the body, to move the hormones around and to spark the passion.
Well,
Speaking of,
you're on a horse ranch right now, Carrie. And how do you get a horse to go your way? You walk them in a circle and get their attention, right?
Yeah.
You
Pressure.
get them back to your attention. And that's what you do with your partner. When you want to get their attention, you walk them, right? You move them. You're moving her. It can also be sensual massage. I think sensual massage is a pivotal skill to have in a monogamous relationship, especially because if you are only touching for sex, then you've got to pull that back and start touching for pleasure. And because women's genital systems need a lot of blood flow produced to get them turned on, you have, as a masculine bodied person, something in your favor called hemodynamics, which means you get turned on, the blood flows to your penis gets erect, you look down, you're ready to go. For her, she's got the same amount of erectile tissue that you do, but it's all buried treasure. It's all inside. Just a little tiny bit shows she's got the same amount as you do inside, all wrapped around her vaginal opening. But you can't, unless you're, and a lot of women don't let you look at their yoni. Yoni is another word for the woman's genital system. It's just a pretty word for a woman's genitals. Lingam is the
Yoni. I like that. How do you spell it?
yoni. Yoni.
Yoni. All right.
Yeah, yoni, and then the man's genitals are called a lingam, lingam. It's tantric
Lingam.
sex
Oh.
words, and if you give her yoni plenty, she needs full body touch. She needs lots of stroking, lots of pleasure, lots of kissing of the eyes, kissing of the neck, breast massages, back massages, buns, yoni, starting from the outside, working your way in. If you can get your woman to sit down, sit on your lap, or lie down and hold her and stroke her, and then allow you to get the blood moving in her body and get that blood flow to her genitals, she's going to want way more sex, because that's what it takes for her hemodynamics to work, is pushing the blood right down there into the yoni. It's good for healing. It's good for orgasm. It's just what we need that we don't get, and why we don't want sex as much as you.
Mic drop. That was well said, Susan. Always dropping that hot fire in terms of intimacy. I mean, guys, you heard it here. You got to get the body moving, gently caress, some sensual massage. I think that is a very necessary skill. I know Stephanie and I, we love giving each other coconut oil massages, and just lather up, put a towel down, and just a deep tissue, nice massage. It goes so far, and it feels great as well. So highly recommend that. That's a great tactic to reignite that fire. What would you say are some other, ways to spark the passion that maybe some people who potentially have fallen off the bandwagon and want to get back on in their relationship?
Yep.
How could they spark that fire?
So I want to go back to, you said organic coconut oil. I love organic coconut oil for full body massage. But then when you're going to go internal to her vagina, switch to organic sweet almond or organic avocado. You have to, with avocado, you have to go with a refined organic avocado oil, because unrefined will be green and it'll stain the sheets.
Oh, okay.
But
Good
the
note.
sweet almond and the organic oil work really well inside the vaginal area. Anything that is inside, I don't recommend coconut, because coconut has antibacterial properties. And the vaginal microbiome requires good bacterial function. It's got its own microbiome. And so the coconut oil for some women can be disruptive to the biome. So I always like to have a couple of different oils lined up beside the bed. And then when you do the sensual massage, getting her to understand how beautiful her yoni is, and verbally talking to her as you're massaging her, and really getting very articulate with your fingers. And if you do rough work, use very tight fitting polypropylene gloves with lots of oil on them, and she won't even be able to feel it. And then if your hands are rough, or, some men have very rough hands, you won't hurt her. It happens,
Yeah, it does.
And so the gloves are really good for the yoni massage. And when you have the opportunity to lay her down, butterfly her legs open, put pillows under them, have pillows behind her back, you've given her a nice massage, and now you're going to give her a yoni massage. When you can look and see what you're doing, and you can feel all of the parts, and you can knead the outer labia, and you can stroke the inner labia, and you can give the mons so the kneading that it needs to get almost soft and like a gelatinous feeling. And when you can stroke over the top of the clitoris, and you can do strokes that start at the top and go down without going back up against the grain of the fur, and you can touch on the opening to the vagina, and you can work your fingers in, and you can do those things like I was telling you that Tim was doing, where he really can go into the vaginal area and he knows he's mapped that thing. He's mapped my landscape, my terrain. Then what's great about that is when you're in lovemaking and you're orally pleasuring her, you really know what you're working with. And then you will have seen how her labia plump up, how her inner labia start to get darker colored, how the color changes, the blood flow changes, seeing her clitoris get an erection where instead of being buried under the hood, it starts to pop out because the shaft itself has gotten engorged. Noticing how delicate of a touch feels pleasurable to her. Knowing how she likes pressure on the roof of the vagina and the ceiling and the floor of the vagina, but she likes draggy fingers on the sides or whatever it might be. When you've put in enough energy and intention to learning how to give her exquisite pleasure by stroking and using your fingers in her yoni, then your oral game takes a new step up in skill as well, because you've memorized that in your mind. And then her giving you lingam massages and you telling her, try this thing or try that thing, or she just is freestyling and creative and you're giving her feedback. And there's no goals except for communication and pleasure. That having the skill and the comfort and the communication, creating that you're getting that going, you're getting that flowing between the two of you. That just sets in engorgement for her so she can feel more pleasure and have more orgasms, knowledge for you, connection, intimacy, joy, fun. That's one of the most important skills to learn as a couple is genital play.
All right. That is, definitely something I think a lot of people can work on. Me, myself, I want to just go back to the drawing board with all your new, happy hustle hacks, I like to call them. But you really are a sexual biohacker. It comes down to you're just mind blown because you got the science aspect, but you also have a unique way of telling stories. I love it. It's super engaging as well as, informative. Susan, I want to ask you a question. I ask all my guests this question, but what did you first do for money? What was your first hustle? Can you remember?
Yeah, I worked at a moped store. I wanted wheels when I was, 15 probably. I wanted to get around. I wanted to get out of my house and go play and see my friends. Yeah. And I was too young to drive. And my stepfather owned a moped rental business and moped sales business. And he let me work there, and he paid me a pittance, but gave me a moped. And I was a moped salesperson. And that was one of my first jobs I ever had. And I really enjoyed it. It gave me freedom, and I love to sell.
Yeah, that's amazing. And speaking of selling, you are an incredible entrepreneur. I don't want to take away anything from, the sexual intimacy advice and the expert you are, but let's face it, you have to be able to market that super talented skill of yours. And you are a rock star entrepreneur. I know you have multiple multi-million-dollar businesses as well and reach just the masses with them. Let's talk a little bit because, the happy hustlers out there are entrepreneurs. They're aspiring entrepreneurs. They want to happy hustle a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact, and really just connect and share their message with others. And I think you've done such an amazing job doing that. Let's talk about, maybe I like to call them happy hustle hacks. What are some happy hustle hacks for entrepreneurship that you could share with the listeners that you've seen effective?
Well, my passion is passion.
There you go.
And I do not recommend being in the business of sexuality. You can't advertise it on Google. You can't advertise it on Facebook. I'm shut out of everything. I'm shut down on everything, which is why I launched another business in the supplement business. And I started out selling passionate lovemaking techniques, and I still have that business, and it's a very good one. But I said to my team, we have about 20 people who are global who work on our business and have for the last 15 years. And I said, all right, we keep hitting a revenue ceiling because we can't scale our business, because we can't run advertising for, our ebooks and things. And so I looked at a lot of different businesses, and I said, I'm such a biohacker and I love supplements so much. I think that's the business I want to get into. And I said, are you guys willing? Like, basically, here's how I described it to my team. I said, here we are, we're on the tarmac and we're in a jungle, and there's a plane, but it's in parts, and there's water that's rising from the swamp, and it's going to kill us if we don't build the plane and fly out of here. Who's in? Who wants to start another company and fly out of the one we're in? And not that we'd fly out of it. We still do it. We love it, maintain it. It's still what's growing. It's the revenue that's helping us grow our new business. But we literally, as a company, built a new company together to take us into the next decade of our lives together, because we run our business as a family business. We're there for the births, the deaths, the hospitalizations, the everything, the typhoons, the mountains, the fires, the earthquake, and we're globally distributed. We're in India, we're in the Philippines, we're in Austin, we're here. And we have some people, our designer lives in Barcelona,
Cool.
We are a globally distributed, Slack-based, Asana task, time doctor driven organization with roadmaps and goals. And everybody said, yeah, let's build it. And so we did. And we launched a new brand. We launched our products. They're doing incredibly well. Like, I can't even believe how well they're doing. I'm like, oh, thank God I picked a good one.
Yeah.
Too, because our first product, our breakout success, is a nitric oxide booster made from organic ingredients. Because when I studied libido, which I've studied 6 ways from Sunday, I realized that everybody thinks it's their hormones, and it's actually in large part much more the lack of blood flow. They can't get lubricated. They can't keep a hard on. They can't have a clitoral erection. It's so interesting that I launched my product as a nitric oxide booster, but I really market it as a libido support supplement, and because people don't think about it that way, and it's organic, which is great. So it's been a hit, which has been amazing. I have it right here. I'll show it to you. It's called Flow.
Yeah, that's
organic
amazing.
Watermelon, organic spinach, organic acerola cherries, pine bark, all the things that get the blood flowing. So
where can people go to get that if they do want to pick
store.com. THE20 store.com. It's funny. I've got it on Amazon too. It's funny because I decided I wanted the company to be called the 20 because of the 80-20 rule. 20% of your effort gets 80% of your results. And that's what I want in my supplements, the 20% of the stuff that actually gets 80% of the results. So that's where the 20
That's genius. I love that. That's such a great pivot that you made, just being able to understand the current climate of your industry, knowing that you are being suppressed given what you talk about, and you're not having the ability to scale potentially with ads, making that pivot. And all the entrepreneurs out there listening can benefit from just having that foresight, being able to say, okay, here's the adversity. It is there. It's going to be there. Let's pivot. Let's make an adjustment and continue to grow. That's a great happy hustle hack. I love that, Susan.
There's another hack too I want to give you.
Go ahead.
Ask me another question. There's another hack I want to give you, and that is, when I hire for less about the specifics of what a person can do and more about their heart, their reliability and responsibility, and their general intelligence. And then I find out what they're good at, because they don't even know what they're good at. Most people don't even know what they're good at.
Yeah.
For some reason, one of my little superpowers is that I just freaking love people. And I have this like second sense or sixth sense where I can look at someone and I can say to them, did you know that you're extraordinary in this way? And they'll be like, man, no, I am. And I'm like, you are. Like, nobody's as good at that thing as you are. What I like to do is I like to give my team lots of tasks and see what they love and do best, and then give them more of that. And what I've found over the years is that having a team that has the orientation, the mindset that is, it's going to constantly change. I'm just going to keep doing whatever needs to get done. Like, it's not, this is my job. It's, this is the job that needs to get done today that I'm going to do to the best of my ability. It keeps people excited. They're not so bored. They're trying and learning new things. They're giving more contributions in different ways, and they just feel more vital to the team. And so that's, business changes so fast now that thinking about your team and how you're constantly redeploying them based on what you're doing in your business going forward. My team's not doing the same jobs they started when they were hired. They're doing totally different things, and it's changing all the time. And I think that's another important thing is think about your team as family, make a long-term commitment to their growth, and give them tons of opportunity to try new, interesting things, and they will just be so amazing.
Yeah, that's a really powerful takeaway for me personally, because I just had a team meeting with, my squad, the Happy Hustle Tribe, like this morning, and I do every Tuesday, and we're all digital. But I do see, a little bit of repetition starting to set in where it's like, oh, I'm maybe not as excited about the tasks that I'm doing. So I'm definitely going to use that tactic and employ them to really explore what is something that is very exciting that they also want to contribute. And I do treat them as family. So I definitely agree with that point. Yeah. Let's talk about health, because I know you're big into health. And you can also talk about sexual health, but do you have maybe a happy hustle hack or two for health and staying as young and vibrant as you are, and how others, maybe the happy hustlers out there, some of those non-negotiables that you use in your routine that you could share?
Yeah. Well, I've been recovering from coronavirus for the last 6 months.
Oh, wow.
As we're recording this, it's the end of August, and I got corona in early March. And I got it, and I was very sick, and then I recovered, and then I relapsed. And when I relapsed, I got two things that are really, really common with coronavirus people. One is endothelialitis. I'm not saying it right, but it's basically when you get coronavirus, it comes into your body, and it travels through your vascular system, and it's basically like a nuclear bomb in your body that wrecks your organs. It runs on it attaches to ACE2 receptors, which you have all over your body, but it runs on the endothelial system through your vascular system. That's the way that it propagates through the system and does all the damage, takes over the cells and wounds the cells and kills the cells all over your body. So you end up getting things like neuroinflammation, which is inflammation of the meninges inside your head. So in your head, you have white matter and gray matter. And the white matter is the fat, the cholesterol, the wax that is the neuroplasticity part of your brain. That's where all the data is stored and where you learn and add things. And then the gray matter is like the fiber optic cables that run between them, so you can process and store memories and recall and all those things. And then all that's held in by what looks like laminate, multi-level laminate wood flooring, kind of. That's this meningeal covering that holds it inside your brain, the cranial bones. And that your spinal column and the meningeal layers get inflamed, and people get terrible cognitive dysfunction. So you get that, and then you get this epithelial damage all over your body, organ damage, blood system, vascular damage, etc. And so you end up with things that look like cognitive dysfunction and chronic fatigue. And what I have been doing to recover from it is I've been doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So your body needs oxygen to heal. And when you go into a hyperbaric tank, you're going into what looks like a big, what's that stuff that you run your barbecue?
Like a test tube.
Yeah, like a,
Yeah.
not petroleum tank. What's the stuff that you run your barbecue with? And
Propane.
propane. Thank you. Yes, I still have recall issues. Sometimes I can't think of the word I want. So, you know, those big silver propane tanks, it's like you go into one of those with portholes in it.
Yeah,
And,
I've done it. Yeah.
okay. And they
Yeah.
pressurize it. And so they pressurize it and they pump in pure oxygen and they suck out your carbon dioxide. So you get this saturation of oxygen into all your tissues to aid in healing. And I've been diving for 7 weeks, 5 days a week for 2 hours a day. So
Wow.
70 hours I've been submerged in a tank over the last 6 or 7 weeks. And it has really tamped down the inflammation and aided in the healing so I could get my energy back. And then my plan next, after I take a month off from that and let the HBOT, it's called Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy, let the HBOT kind of get the work done. I'm taking a lot of amino acids. I'm taking the taurines, you know, all of those things, a ton of amino acids to rebuild everything that's been damaged, to help my body fix the damage. After I take that break, my next plan is to do exosomes, basically stem cell IV. But the exosome is basically the stem cell without the DNA. So the exosomes have the healing factors. It's kind of like the next level up from PRP, but not quite as big as a stem cell.
Yep.
And I'm going to be doing some exosome therapy to continue to further do systemic blood-borne wide healing from that coronavirus. So the things that I was normally doing, I was unable to do anything. I was riding my mountain bike and doing my yoga and going for hikes and eating my organic salads, and all the exercise went out the window because I was literally so trashed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't work for 6 months, etc.
Oh,
so
wow.
this is what I've been doing and I'll tell you another thing that I do is I give myself injections of vitamin D. Of course, I take K2 and A and all the other things with it.
Yeah.
I give myself my own injections of vitamin D and vitamin B12. So between the injections and the HBOT and the organic food and the rest and the sunshine, those are the things that I've been doing to heal. So if I told you what I was doing before COVID, they would be things that most biohackers are doing, which is great.
Yeah.
So I thought it might be more interesting to answer the question, if you can survive COVID, but it's totally effed you up, what do you do? This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Susan. Seriously, because I have multiple family members who are affected, have been, diagnosed, and we're treating it, but it is not easy. And anyone who's been infected or know anyone with the coronavirus knows it puts you on your ass and destroys, cognitive functionality, as well as just your lethargic, your energy production is way down. So I can totally resonate with that. And thank you for sharing your experience. Some excellent tips there, guys. If you do know someone, listen, Susan, all that stuff has been validated. I mean, there is certain, biohacks and procedures that have more efficacy than others based on the, the genetic makeup of the clientele. However, there's a lot of scientific research validated with what Susan's doing. So highly recommend that. Susan, let's make it a little bit, happier toned, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. What is a happy hustle hack for your spirituality, especially going through, COVID? I'm sure you've had to, lean on some faith, right, and persevere past it. Do you have a spiritual practice or anything that you do to tap into a higher power?
Yeah, I have 2 spiritual practices. One is orgasmic meditation, which I'll tell you about, and
please.
the other That sounds good. I'll have
Yes,
what she's
please.
I'll have what
Yep.
she's having.
I'll take 2.
I'll take 100.
Yeah.
You scofflaw.
Yeah.
So I do orgasmic meditation, and I also I like the Heart Math Inner Balance app that hooks to your ear, hooks to your iPhone, and it measures your heart rate variability. So basically, what it does is it gets you from sympathetic nervous system state, which is freaked out about what the hell is going on in the universe, and into your parasympathetic rest and digest state. And the way that you do that is you think about things that you're grateful for. And that's the trick. When you stop catastrophizing, worrying about the past or projecting into the future, and you get totally present with what you're grateful for in life, you get into a state where you are calm. So I do that. And then orgasmic meditation is essentially one of the programs that has been a foundation of Personal Life Media's business is teaching orgasmic meditation. It is very, very good for monogamous couples. And that's one of the things we really wanted to focus on in this particular episode was hot monogamy. And orgasmic meditation is a practice. We call it expanded orgasm. You can go learn about it. There's 3 free pleasure reports at Expand Her Orgasm Tonight.
I'm writing that down. I'll link it up in the show notes.
Yeah, good. And that is a clitoral stroking technique that has 5 strokes, 3 opening strokes, a bread and butter stroke, and a closing stroke. It's just like if you learned Hapkido or any martial art, or you learned yoga asanas. There's a way to do it. It's a form. And so you follow the form, and what it does is this can be done to the man as well, but this particular practice is a female clitoral stroking technique. So her partner lays her down and he strokes her clitoris in this certain stroke, and it allows her to go into an orgasmic moment where you're used to the orgasm building, and then you have a climax, and then you fall off the cliff and you're done. What this does, it takes her into orgasm, and then it takes that moment of climax and it draws it out in time like taffy. So she's like a big wave rider. She's gotten towed up into the big wave, and now she's on this giant wave of pleasure, and she is riding that thing all the way to shore. And then you tow her back up, and the wave is even bigger and even longer. And what's great about all of that is that when you're taking her into that, you can probably hear the helicopters. Can you hear the helicopters?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's fire season here in California, and there was a giant wind yesterday, and there's some lines down, and it's it's the electric company looking for where the lines are down, I'm pretty sure. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So when you're taking her into and holding her in this pleasure, you're actually creating the experience for her. You're delivering the sensation. She's surrendered to the pleasure that you're creating. So what happens is you're limbically connected, your nervous system. Did you ever see Avatar? The movie Avatar. Do you remember when the avatars would jump onto those big flying birds and they
connect?
They would take their braid and they would connect it in, and those little tendrils would connect like that.
Yeah. Love that movie.
Me too. I watched that in the HBOT tank. When you're doing this expanded orgasm date, you're limbically connecting like the avatar with his bird. And then you're taking over her nervous system, and you're taking her up and taking her into these stretchy, melting orgasms over and over, higher and higher, longer and longer. And what's great about it is that you're actually in a conjoined meditative trance state together.
Oh,
So
wow.
instead of sitting in meditation alone and emptying your mind or saying your mantras, what you're actually doing is she's riding and you're creating this orgasm and you're feeling it in your body as you're generating it in hers. So, you know how there's that visual of the DNA spiral. Have you ever seen the one that's like the spiral and then it's a couple at the top? They're spiraled together, spiraling.
The helix. Yeah.
The helix. That's what this practice is. It's a meditative, orgasmic, conjoined trance state of pleasure. And so that's the kind of meditation that I do.
Hey, you know what? Sign me up. I'm in. Susan, geez Louise. I mean, we're going to have to get some like Spark Notes. Well, you got your programs for all the happy hustlers to go to. Yeah, we need to definitely link these up in the show notes because I know a ton of happy hustlers are out there listening and they're probably like, that was a ton of amazing information, but I need to know exactly step by step because it is sometimes, you know, you get in the moment and you're like, what's the next thing? So that's why, you know, I'm so excited to bring you on and share you with the happy hustlers out there. And I know you have a special gift for the happy hustlers. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, you know, that little something for the happy hustlers?
So Carrie and I were talking before the show. Okay, we wanted to kind of do the hot monogamy thing, you know, like what are the basic tenets? And the basic tenets of hot monogamy are couples that play together, stay together, especially in the bedroom. Keeping sex hot is what Carrie said, good bedroom communication skills, the sexual soulmate pact, learning new techniques, and keeping your body in good shape and fixing the damages as they happen so that you can keep going because things happen. So I said, all right, well, I think probably the most fun thing I might be able to give away on your show is something I did recently, a book I wrote recently called 7 Stimulating Sex Positions. And essentially what I did was I took my personal favorite positions and how I do them and what makes them a little bit different. Now, there are only really 6 sex positions. There aren't, but you can do them in a lot of ways. And in this particular case, like one of them's called the chingalinga.
Oh.
One of them is called headboard daddy.
Oh.
They're just really fun. And what I did was I explained them in the book, but then I went out and I had them illustrated so that you see an illustration. They're clothed. It's PG.
PG.
PG-13.
13,
PG-17.
Yeah.
PG-17.
Probably. Hopefully 17. Consensual. PG consensual.
Lots of kids have sex earlier. And, you know, we, instead of turning a blind eye, we should be teaching our children about sexuality, about honoring their bodies, about their genitals, about safe sex, about how to communicate, about how to create love, how to hold people in our hearts, how to be present. I do a whole thing on how to teach your kids about sex. But in this particular one, 7 Stimulating Sex Positions, you get it at 7positions.com. The number 7 positions.com. It's a free download. It's like, you know, a cartoon book for lovers. And if you want to keep sex hot, sex positions is a really fun thing to do. Try new sex positions. And these 7, they're called 7 Stimulating Sex Positions because they do there's extra stimulation happening in the way that I tell you to do them. They're just not the same-o. You're doing a couple of new things in each one of the positions. That's really fun. So that's my gift for you today. 7
Thank
positions.
you. That is amazing, Susan. Guys, I hope all of you out there listening, 7positions.com. Get your stimulating sex on. I mean, this is right from Susan, her go-to sex positions and so much more, and a little explanation too, like not just what it is, but I love how you break down why it's effective as well. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that with the Happy Hustlers. If it's cool with you, I want to run through the rapid fire round and then we'll say goodbye. That is basically where I ask you questions and you answer first thing that comes to mind. All right. Favorite movie? Go.
Avatar.
Favorite food?
Ooh, my fresh oranges off my tree.
All right. Favorite book?
Women's Anatomy of Arousal by Sherry Winston.
I love it. Favorite biohack?
Oh gosh, hyperbaric oxygen tanks.
There you go. What's your spirit animal?
Oh, lioness.
Could see that. Best business advice?
Using Asana and Slack.
That's good. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I have it. It's courage.
Oh, I love that. One word you wish to be synonymous with your name for the rest of your life.
Pleasure.
Love it. And 3 things you're most grateful for.
Being on podcasts.
Yeah.
Orgasmic Meditation. And the joy of friends and family.
Love that. That is awesome, Susan. Well, I just want to acknowledge you for just being the lioness that you are and sharing your love and light with the Happy Hustlers. Where can people go to find out more about you, follow you online? I know I follow you on Instagram. I love it. It's hilarious and informative. Where can people go? Give us some links.
All of the articles I've published for years and years and years are at personallifemedia.com. And there's a search box on that page. And you can type in anything and read articles about it. So if you're looking for sex advice, that's good. If you want hundreds of videos I've recorded about all kinds of things sexual, that's at betterlover.com. And those are free. And my Instagram is basically just where I post pictures of my boobs. I mean, it's not really my... What I realized Instagram wants is boobs. That's all they want. Like, when they do the end of the year and they do your 9 top things, like I publish all these great sex techniques and all this stuff and, all this information. And then what are the top ones? The 9 pictures of my boobs. So I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to put more boob pictures up there. I don't care.
But you do also put some great content out too for those people who want boobs and great content. I like it.
I do.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. Well, Personal Life Media, betterlover.com. And, you can follow her at Susan Bratton, right?
Yep.
On Instagram and Facebook as well. Thank you so much for Susan for just hanging out with us today. Last question.
Yeah.
What does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling means keep your eye on the revenue and enjoy making money as you do it.
Love that. That's good. I appreciate you, Susan. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Carrie.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching and listening.